People have asked me before, if someone gave me a pill that would take away my Asperger's, would I take it? The answer is I don't know. Maybe if I had been given it as a child, I would highly recommend it. But at this age, after figuring out how to live with it for a large part, I can't say I would. What I would prefer instead is the ability to turn it up or down or turn it off. You will hear about people who hit their heads and become math, music, or artistic virtuosos. The reason for this, neurologists think, is the accidents turn off some parts of their brain, and their brain shifts resources to other areas. If I had the ability to consciously redirect my brain's focal point and temporarily handicap one part of my brain to gain power in another, I would be a genius at many things, just not all at once. You couldn't tell the average person on the street from any of these geniuses in their field other than their experience. This, on top of memory upgrades, may very well be part of the future of neural upgrading. You may be able to increase your ability to focus while reducing your creativity at one job, but crank up your creativity and musical talent to maximum once you get home. When in a math class, you may be able to bump yourself to the autism spectrum, and then reverse it and be the most charming hosts at other times. Psychopathy and sociopathy are special cases in their own right. To the non-criminal, they can be extremely helpful and useful tools when harnessed correctly in situations that involve negotiation, human reading, and charisma. Being able to turn empathy on and off could be useful, especially if you're feeling like king of the world, but are uncertain if what you are doing is moral. You can turn on empathy and make sure you're doing something right. It would be very helpful to politicians who need to negotiate, but can have empathy desensitization and have increased sociopathic tendencies after time in office. Just like with Asperger's, just a glimpse into a different perspective and way of thinking would do one a world of good. To the criminal with psychopathy or sociopathy, they may be given the choice to have their empathy control turned over to psychological experts in exchange for reduced time during treatment. It would take months to years of steady, gradual work because if you, say, killed a bunch of people or destroyed a bunch of people's lives, and you didn't think anything about it, then had your empathy turned up to max, it could mentally destroy you, or at least cripple you. Knowing the way the US loves punishment over rehabilitation, I could certainly see us using this option to essentially execute a sociopath painfully, mentally destroying their old personality so that they can rebuild a new one in that person. Other Western nations will probably use a much slower method. Even better, though, will be when you have a retinal display that lets you know when you are possibly being emotionally manipulated, using logical fallacies, or being affected by a natural bias. Rationality would break out throughout the world. Sadly, advertising will discover these neurological manipulations way before we get the software into place for personal use. The future of mental power may very well just lie in the conscious control of unconscious processes. Processes that used to be considered mental disorders only because they couldn't be controlled or adjusted to fit the situation. Someday we may all be virtuosos, sociopaths, Asperger's, and bipolar, but only when the need arises.